Is everyone seeing my slides?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see a pop-up that's asking for approval to use cameras. Is that from you, Grace?
Is it gone now?
No. Okay.
I think it was for me. So I
it's
think
gone.
as long as you can see the slides, then I think Brittany, you can go ahead.
Yeah, it's gone now.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brittany Williams. I'm a Deputy Commissioner at CDPH and just wanted to welcome you all to the space this afternoon. Thank you so much for attending. Grace, can we go ahead and go to the next slide? All right, so we just want to go ahead and do a welcome also for the instructions for Zoom. So please today, feel free to put questions that you have in the chat. We have a couple of presentations to go through, and then when we do that, we'll have a Q&A section where folks will be able to have their questions answered by our panelists here. So after we go through that, we'll go through presentations from housing, from CDPH, and from our demolition contractor, and then we will move into your questions and comments from there. Before we begin, let's go ahead and do a round of introductions. I'm going to pass it to my commissioner, Dr. Ige.
Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Simbo Ige. I am the commissioner for the Chicago Department of Public Health. And we have one of the many steps of this process, but it is the responsibility of the Chicago Department of Public Health to designate demolitions as environmentally complex. And by doing that, that triggers additional reviews. And so we will be sharing with you today our review process, what we have found, our efforts to keep the community safe. Again, we are the Department of Public Health, so our primary interest is the health of the public. I have here on my team a few members of the department. So Grace, will you introduce yourself? Our Deputy Commissioner overseeing community engagement has already introduced herself. That's Brittany Williams. So Grace.
Yeah. So my name is Grace Adams. I am an information coordinator with the Chicago Department of Public Health. I support our Office of Environmental Permitting and Inspections in particular from the Public Information Office. And so I am here for support today. And I believe we have John as well from our office. John, if you'd like to give an intro.
Hello, my name is John Singler. I'm a licensed asbestos inspector, and I work doing mostly asbestos work and demolitions.
Hi, John. And I will pass it on to my colleague, Commissioner Hopkins.
Hopkins. I am the commissioner for the Department of Buildings. The Department of Buildings is responsible for the overseeing the demolition process. As this is a complex demo, our role is to ensure that the contractor is following all of the building code requirements for the safe removal of the structure from the site. I don't have anyone on with me this evening, but it's an honor to be here.
And how about we go to the Chicago folks? So Arthur, you want to go ahead and kick it off?
Sure. My name is Arthur Del Muro. I'm Executive Director of Capital Project Delivery for the University of Chicago. And so projects related to demolition and new construction are under my purview. I'll hand it over to Sarah, and then we'll turn it over to our Brandenburg team and Mortensen team.
Hi, everyone. Sarah Sheehan in the University of Chicago's Office of Civic Engagement. I will hand it to Anne.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ann Woods. I'm a senior project manager with Mortensen, and I'll hand it over to Tom Simon.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Thomas Simon. I am oversee field operations for the Mortensen construction team.
Nick, do you want to go next?
Yeah, Nick Rojas with Brandenburg. I assist in the permitting and the environmental aspects of the project.
Evening, I'm Robert Stevenson, representing Brandenburg. We'll be doing the demolition for this project.
I believe that's everybody on our team.
Thank you all for the introductions. Thank you, Grace, for moving the slides. So today we just want to provide information about the reviews, about the pre-demo inspections for these projects here. We're also going to talk about the method of demolition, how we want to protect the community from the environmental and health impacts that could potentially arise from a demolition, and then finally to answer your concerns and questions like we had mentioned at the top of this call. So I think with that, go ahead, Grace, to the next slide. We can kick it off to our first presentation, which is going to be from buildings. So Commissioner Hopkins, please feel free to take it away.
So the demolition in site addresses are 5604 to South Ellis, which is known as the Accelerator Building, and 935 East 56th Street, which is known as the High Energy Physics Building. As you know, the owner of the site is the University of Chicago. Brandenburg Industrial Service Company is the demolition contract, and the estimated time frame for demolition, weather dependent, is 6 months. The University of Chicago's Accelerator Building was constructed in 1949. The High Energy Physics Building was constructed in 1967. The buildings house 2 particle accelerators, one Betatron that generated gamma rays and other particles for physics research, and one cyclotron that was at one point the world's most powerful particle accelerator. The Betatron building was decommissioned in 1965, and the cyclotron was decommissioned in 1972. These buildings have since been repurposed for other science projects, office spaces, and other uses for the university. The Department of Buildings required the contractor to submit a structural condition report, which details the current structural integrity of the building. They were also required to submit a safety and operation plan that details compliance, describing how the project will comply with the applicable requirements of Chapter 33 of the Chicago Building Code. We also were responsible for performing a preliminary inspection, which is known as the pre-demolition inspection. We will have an inspector on site during the entire time the demolition work is in progress, and we will also perform a final inspection once demolition is complete. I would like to note that the structural condition report and safety operation plan are submitted to the department, stamped and signed or designed by a licensed architect or structural engineer, and the site operation plan also can be prepared by the demolition contractor. This is a reinforced concrete building with a steel clerestory crane bay running the length of the structure. This will be a mechanical demolition using conventional equipment, including hydraulic excavators equipped with a combination of shears, hydraulic breakers, and grapple attachments, man lifts, skidsters, and front end loaders. This is not a demolition by implosion. No explosives will be removed. At this time, I will turn it over to my colleague, Dr. Ige, for the Department of Public Health presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner. So Commissioner Hopkins has given you an overview of the structural components of this. So my role is to go over why we designated this as environmentally complex. This designation was created by CDPH in response to community concerns about demolitions that presented an increased risk to the environment and to the public health. Now, this concern, the reason why concerns have driven this process is that when we designate a demolition as environmentally complex, then we have to have a community engagement meeting to help people understand how we have guaranteed public health in this process. So we have a special process to review potential impacts before the work begins, to notify the community, and to ensure that appropriate precautions are in place And our process for environmentally complex demolition, we have a flyer, and we can put the link in the chat for you so you can read it in detail. But we look at the risk, we do the pre-demolition inspection, we control the risk, we do community notification, and we do oversight of the demolition. Next slide, please. So why did we designate this demolition as environmentally complex? It is because of radiological concerns. You have heard of Betatron and cyclotron and particle accelerators, etc. So there is potential for radiological exposure here. And so we wanted to be sure that that is completely mitigated and addressed before demolition happens. So this facility housed a particle accelerator, 2 massive particle accelerators. And so we wanted to be sure that before it is demolished, that is thoroughly remediated before things start to come down. Next slide, please. So we required that the contractor assess for any asbestos and abate the asbestos. That has been completed. We also required before demolition any hazardous waste be removed and disposed of. That has also been completed. Lead is also something we're concerned about, again, because these are buildings before 1970. So inspection for lead happened, and that has been completed. We also, as part of our environmental consideration, require that demolitions, when they happen, recycle or reuse at least 50% of uncontaminated construction or demolition debris. And we will evaluate this during the demolition. In this instance, the property owner was required to receive final confirmatory release letters from the Illinois Emergency Management Agency for the buildings to be fully released from radiological control and removed from the university's radiological license. This was used for radiological purposes in the past. We needed a third party, IEMA, to assure us and issue a letter that all radiological controls have been removed and there is no ongoing license for radiological use for this building. So the removal of the license is in progress. Next slide. Now, dust, I mentioned asbestos, I mentioned lead, I mentioned the radiological consideration. Dust is the other thing we're concerned about when buildings start to come down. So dust control is also something we look out for because it has negative impact on community members who might be close by. So there are 4 air monitoring devices that will report data at 15-minute intervals to ensure air quality is safe per EPA requirements. The air monitor is to ensure that there is no fugitive dust, that nothing is leaving the premises to go outside into the community. The exact air monitoring device locations will be adjusted along the perimeters to ensure continuous monitoring at a minimum of 1 upwind and 1 downwind location. So the monitors must be placed in a place where 1 will catch upwind, 1 will catch downwind at a minimum, and 15-minute interval monitoring is what we will be looking out for. When available, equipment and vehicles will use integrated dust suppressant systems in the area in which active demolition is taking place. So vehicles coming in, equipment being used, none of those should be tracking dust. Charged water hoses and dust bus mobile misters will be used. Now, a dust bus is a machine that sprays water to weigh down dust so that it comes to the ground instead of being dispersed into the air. So that is also required for this demolition. Perimeter walls will be up as long as possible to keep debris and dust enclosed. So these are dust mitigation strategies: monitors, air suppressants, dust buses and water hoses, and vehicles and equipment must not track dust outside of the premises. There will be perimeter walls also to control traffic coming in and out. Next slide. So the Department of Buildings and CDPH inspectors will be on site before any demolition to make sure all required controls are in place. Buildings looking out for structural issues, CDPH looking out for public health related issues. We will also be on site daily during active demolition to observe. If anything goes wrong, we both have authority independently to stop any work that could be a public health hazard and correct issues as needed. Next slide. And now I will pass it on to the contractor to tell you what precautions they have put in place. But those are the things that we have looked out for before we issue a permit for this demolition to proceed. So, Brandenburg?
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Ige. Again, I'm Robert Stevenson with Brandenburg. I'll walk you through the demolition portion of the work. If we can go into the overview here that we see, again, as Commissioner Hopkins had mentioned, we're looking at two separate structures here, one at 5604 South Ellis and the other one at 935 East 56th Street, also known as the Accelerator Building and the HEP Building. Next slide, please. As mentioned earlier, the overview of the buildings, both of these structures are reinforced concrete construction. The building at 5604 South Ellis, approximately 35,000 square feet, built in 1951. And the 935 East 56th Street building, approximately 26,000 square feet, built in 1967. Hazardous materials and universal waste. Again,
And I could cover this. I think I'll cover these two slides and let you go back to process if you don't mind.
Sure.
So Arthur Del Miro, Executive Director again of Capital Project Delivery for the University of Chicago. And as Dr. Ige mentioned, we've done an enormous amount of work to assure that we are taking care of the environmental considerations on the project. This first side basically talks about our universal waste and chemical waste conditions, our asbestos conditions, and our lead conditions. So the university has completed a survey and has removed all chemical waste and all universal waste of the project in 2024. Subsequently, we have also done in 2023 an asbestos survey, and over the course of 2024 and 2025, we have removed all asbestos materials through a licensed abatement contractor. And in 2024, we've done a pre-demolition lead assessment of the building, and that lead assessment will be used as a tool during the demolition process, so we can segregate lead-containing materials and non-lead containing materials for their proper disposal. And then the next slide. As Dr. Ige mentioned, radiological safety is of great importance on this project. It occurs over a two-step process. The first bullet point talks about the University of Chicago's efforts, and we have completed a comprehensive radiological survey on both of these buildings, and we have determined that they meet the criteria for an unrestricted release from radiological control. And then the Illinois Emergency Management Agency, the second bullet, comes in and does a confirmatory survey to confirm that these buildings meet that criteria, and they provide a release of these buildings from the university's radiological license. Currently, the university has received Amendment 22, fully releasing the HEP building, that's the 56th Street building, from the university's radiological material license. And we have completed our survey for the Accelerator building, and we expect currently IEMA is performing their survey of our documentation, and they will be providing, they're completing their confirmatory survey scheduled to complete in mid-May. And then we anticipate that they will also provide us with an amendment to release the Accelerator building from the radiological license. And I wanted to point out in bold that despite receiving all of the other regulatory requirements for the demolition of the building, the university will not and cannot tear down the Accelerator building until we complete this step from IEMA releasing the building from our radiological license. And then I will hand it back over to Robert to continue with the process of the demolition. Thank you.
Thanks, Art. As mentioned earlier, this will be a controlled demolition activity for both of these structures. Essentially, what that means is that we're going to be using machines to take the buildings down conventionally. There will not be any implosion methods utilized for this project. The buildings will be removed. The slabs and foundations will be taken out of the ground as well, but we will not be taking any soils off-site for the demolition work. The process for the demolition and foundation removal is anticipated to take 6 months or less. We will be using charged water hoses and or dust bosses to control dust on site, as Dr. Ige mentioned earlier. You can see a picture of those dust bosses in action there on the right. We will also be using the 4 air monitoring stations on site to track dust in 15-minute intervals, as mentioned earlier. Next slide, please. So this will show you some of the logistics of the overall site plan. Both the ACC and the HEP building can be seen at the bottom of the picture there in gray. We will be working a standard Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4 work schedule, weather pending. For truck traffic, most truck traffic will be coming east on 56th Street there. On the north side of ACC and HEP, they will be coming into the site behind Jersey barriers and fencing to get loaded. Once they are loaded with their demolition debris and or steel, they will continue down 56th Street off to the east and off the site. We do have some site vehicle access points that will be cleaned to prevent dust emissions. If there's any dirt of any type that is removed from the site, we will have sweeping activities as well on the streets. There are some permits that have been obtained already to close the sidewalk on the south side of East 56th Street, as well as the west side of Ellis Avenue in front of the buildings. Parking lanes will be closed in both the north and south East 56th Street, as well as the east and west on Ellis Avenue for the duration of the project. Next slide, please. Post-demolition, we will be using recycled concrete to backfill the basement voids and spaces removed from the foundation removal. That will help support future construction activities. We will be developing plans for a future engineering and science building there that is a separate project. And the site will remain fenced entirely for the duration of the project to prevent any entry into the facility. Next slide. And that's all.
Okay, thank you everyone for these presentations. I think we can now go ahead and get to the questions. We only have one so far, which is where is BOWA Construction? That's BOWA. Is there someone on the panelist list who can answer that?
Yes, thank you. I can answer that. Boa Construction is a member of our construction management team, along with contracted through Mortensen. This presentation is concentrated on the demolition, and Boa's engagement is related more to the new construction.
So thank you, Arthur. Does anyone else have questions? Do feel free to put them in the chat. Okay, Grace, I'm going to ask you to put that last slide back up if you don't mind.
Yes, I was in the middle of typing. Give me 1 second. I'm dropping the flyer in directly. So give me 1 moment.
Okay, so it looks like we don't have any questions. We are happy to stay on and answer them, so please don't feel shy if you do have questions. But in the meantime, I just wanted to uplift the information that is on this slide. So first, please go to our site, chicago.gov/complex demolitions to learn more about the work that we discussed here tonight. Also around asbestos and lead hazards, we have a site for that, chicago.gov, asbestos lead. And then finally, for the full additional environmental requirements, we do have our Chicago Municipal Code. The specific section is listed here. And of course, you can always use 311 to communicate anything to the city in terms of where you may be suffering or struggling through something related to these demolitions. So with that, if there's nothing else and if there's no questions, we can go ahead and call it for today. Does anyone on our panelist list have anything they want to add or close with or kind of share with the community that we weren't able to get to during these presentations? Awesome. Well, with that, we're happy to give you all some time back. Thank you again to everyone who presented for your time this afternoon. And then for our participants, we do appreciate you giving us time to kind of share this with you. So thank you very much. We are here for questions if you have them.
Thank you to
Thank you.
CDPH EOB for your partnership. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Your great evening. Thank you.
Thank you.